And when the spotlight left, so did the people. The applause faded. The cameras moved on.
When the spotlight left, what was still there?
They hid this, the Nickelodeon scandal, that changed everything you grew up watching it. The slime, the laugh tracks, the bright orange logo that meant Saturday morning was yours. Nickelodeon wasn't just a TV channel. It was a promise. We make things for kids. We protect kids. We celebrate kids. For decades, that promise held, at least on the surface. But behind the set walls, behind the casting calls, behind the executive decisions that nobody made public, something else was being protected. And it wasn't the children. This is Forgotten Fame. The channel that goes past the headlines, past the PR statements, past the carefully managed silence, to find out what was really happening when nobody was watching. Today, we're not talking about one person. We're talking about an institution. The rise of Nickelodeon, the machine behind it, and the documentary that cracked the whole thing open in front of the world. This is the Nickelodeon scandal that changed everything. Nickelodeon launched in 1977. It was the first cable channel in America built exclusively for children. By the 1990s, it wasn't just successful, it was dominant. Rugrats, Clarissa Explains It All, Ren and Stimpy, Hey Arnold, Keenan and Kel, all that. The network understood something most television executives didn't. Kids didn't want to be talked down to. They wanted chaos, color, characters that felt real. Nickelodeon gave them all of it. And then it gave them something else. It gave them Dan Schneider. Dan Schneider was not a child actor. He was a writer, a producer, a showrunner, a man who operated behind the camera with a level of creative control that was, by Hollywood standards, almost unprecedented for children's programming. His credits read like a blueprint for a generation's childhood. All That, The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, Zoe, 101, iCarly, Victorious, Sam and Cat. For nearly 2 decades, if a Nickelodeon show made money, Dan Schneider's name was attached to it. He was nicknamed the Hitmaker. He was also, by every account from people who worked under him, the most powerful man on the lot. And power, inside a building full of children, that matters. From the outside, Nickelodeon in the 2000s looked like a dream factory. Young actors landing roles at 12, 13, 14 years old. National exposure, fan bases that felt like armies, music careers built off the back of television platforms. Amanda Bynes, Jamie Lynn Spears, Drake Bell, Jeanette McCurdy, Ariana Grande. These were kids, genuinely talented kids, but the environment surrounding them was not designed around their well-being. It was designed around content output, long shooting days, tight production schedules, power structures where adult executives controlled not just what aired, but what young actors wore, how they looked, how they were spoken to on set, and what happened when they pushed back. Most of them didn't push back. They were children. They needed the job, and they'd been told, directly or indirectly, that this was how the industry worked. A Variety expose. The article documented a toxic on-set environment under Dan Schneider. Screaming, belittling cast and crew, erratic and controlling behavior. Nickelodeon's response was quiet. Schneider departed the network in 2018. No explanation, no press conference. A statement so vague it told the public almost nothing. But people who had been on those sets knew something had shifted. The question that started circulating wasn't, why did he leave? It was, why did it take this long? Then came the book that nobody in Hollywood wanted written. Jeanette McCurdy published, I'm Glad My Mom Died. She had been one of Nickelodeon's biggest stars. iCarly, and Sam and Cat. A face millions of kids recognized. Inside the book, she described being offered $300,000 by someone she referred to only as the creator, widely understood to be Dan Schneider, to stay silent about her experiences. She turned it down. Then she wrote the book anyway. McCurdy confirmed she had been shown photographs of herself in her underwear, presented as wardrobe review. She confirmed she had been encouraged into disordered eating habits. She described psychological manipulation disguised as mentorship. She was a teenager when it started. The book became a cultural earthquake, but the aftershock hadn't fully arrived yet. Investigation Discovery aired Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV.
4 episodes. Former cast members, former crew members, on camera, on record.
Here is what is confirmed. Brian Peck, a convicted sex offender, was hired to work on Nickelodeon productions. He had been convicted of sexually abusing a minor in the entertainment industry. His conviction was public record. His sentencing was documented. Nickelodeon hired him anyway.
Drake Bell, confirmed in the documentary that he was sexually abused by Brian Peck. On camera, his name attached. No ambiguity. He was a child when it happened.
Jeanette McCurdy's accounts of manipulation and inappropriate behavior are detailed in her memoir and corroborated in the documentary.
Multiple former child actors described an environment where complaints were not taken seriously, where discomfort was expected to be absorbed without protest, and where access to powerful adults carried conditions that were never spoken aloud.
Here is what remains alleged, not legally confirmed. That Nickelodeon executives were aware of Brian Peck's background before hiring him and made a calculated decision to move forward anyway. That the behavior documented under Schneider's productions was known at the executive level and managed internally rather than addressed. That the $300,000 offer to McCurdy was an attempt at institutional suppression. Schneider has publicly denied the most serious allegations against him. No criminal charges have been filed against him. But the documented facts alone, Peck's hiring, McCurdy's accounts, Drake Bell's testimony, represent a pattern. And patterns inside institutions don't build themselves. Where are they now? Dan Schneider has largely stayed out of public view since 2018. He broke his silence in 2024, releasing a YouTube video responding to the documentary.
At the time, watching over the past 2 nights was very difficult. Me facing my past behaviors, some of which are embarrassing and that I regret, and I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology. At the time, I had no indication that any kid ever had a problem with them. But when I was watching the show over the past 2 nights, I now know that there were kids who did have problems with the on-air dares. And it breaks my heart. And I'm so sorry. I am so sorry to any kid who ever had to do a dare or anything that they didn't want to do or weren't comfortable doing. Watching over the past 2 nights was very difficult.
The internet's reaction was not kind. Jeanette McCurdy has rebuilt on her own terms. The book became a bestseller. She stepped away from acting. She hosts a podcast. She is, by her own account, doing the work.
Drake Bell has spoken further about his abuse and has become an advocate for child safety and entertainment.
Brian Peck served his sentence. He has continued working in entertainment in various capacities, a fact that has been met with widespread public outrage. Nickelodeon's parent company, Paramount, released a statement expressing it took the issues raised in the documentary very seriously. The statement did not name specific accountability. It did not outline structural changes. It used the language institutions use when they want to appear responsive without becoming responsible. The bigger lesson. Nickelodeon did not fail because of one bad actor. It failed because of a structure that made certain outcomes inevitable. When children are the product, when their images, their voices, their developing identities are the raw material of a revenue machine, they need protection built into the foundation, not just contracts, not just HR departments that answer to the same executives who create the problems. Real protection. The industry has known this for decades. It has chosen, repeatedly, to manage its exposure rather than change its behavior. Every time a story like this surfaces, the same cycle runs: silence, departure, statement, documentary, outrage, amnesia, and then a new generation of kids on a new set, with a new hitmaker inside the same structure. The scandal didn't change Nickelodeon, it just made the cost visible. They sold you magic, Saturday mornings, slime, laughter, characters that felt like friends. And some of it was real. But behind those bright orange walls, children were navigating an adult world with no map, no protection, and nowhere to go when something felt wrong. Jeanette McCurdy turned down $300,000 and wrote the truth anyway. Drake Bell said his name out loud after years of silence. They didn't have to do any of that. They did it because someone has to say it, or it keeps happening. So here's the question we'll leave you with. If the most powerful children's network in television history couldn't protect the children working inside it, what does that tell us about every other institution we trusted to do the same? Think about that.